Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite. How are you all doing, my friends? Spring is here, yeah? At least in the southern part of our continent, after a long stretch of what looked like how do you call it? An eternal winter, an endless winter. Finally, we have proper spring with blooming flowers and leafy trees and bees and bugs and butterflies and all the rest. I was never a super spring person. I actually don't enjoy the weather too much. Um, if it's cold or if it's hot, I can adapt, but this thing that you have many seasons in one day has always been difficult for me. But since I have a garden, I can tell you, it's a joy to receive this part of the year, this season. It's really, really, like you see life speaking in a very flashy, very communicative way. What am I gonna talk today? That's actually a good question, even for me. Normally, I think I explained you some other time. The process is that something comes in contact with me, either in my own life, or maybe I read something online, or I have a conversation, or reflection, or some sort of realization, something that I don't understand, or something that I finally get. And then I ponder over it, I take it with me in my Maui walks, I reflect, I look at it from different angles, and somehow, bit by bit, what I want to share begins to take form. But in this occasion, it's a little bit the other way around, because what has been with me is the previous conversation, the previous episode about authenticity. Part of it is because, like I told you then, it was not very clear to me because of the personal story that it came through to me, but also because the term and what people mean with it when they use it seems to be different for different people or different occasions. And also because since then I have been in conversation with some of you and we have been exchanging ideas and impressions. It seemed that it was an episode that moved people to think and reflect. And yeah, because of these conversations as well, it has been in my mind. It has been on my mind, not just the subject in general and how to contextualize it a little better, but also other dimensions of the subject. I spoke with my good friend Hendrik, all the way from Thailand, and he brought some interesting points up, especially about the difficulty of reaching to that authenticity unicorn in the age of social media, not just in person, but now with the online presence added on top. So I will start from there. I will bring back some of the ideas from the previous episode, and then I see where I take it from here. Yeah. The origin for the reflection on this case was personal. Again, I try to take it from my own life. What do I want? What are my true motivations when I share something? Authenticity only makes sense, I suppose, in relationship. If you're alone in your toilet, I suppose you are always authentic. But it's a word that we use to refer to an impression that we get from each other when we are relating. Um, and we used to have one way of relating, two ways: private with a friend or with a person, but in your own little bubble of two or three or four, and then public. But now we have online, which is public, super public, where, look, if you're in the town square, you can be heard by someone for as long as your lungs reach, depends how loud you scream. But through the magic of social media, you can be heard, seen, judged, analyzed by everyone on the planet, as long as they have an internet connection. So it is not public, it's hyper public. And this creates, it creates a different way of communication. If I take a friend and I tell him, oh, look, what a beautiful flower I found today, the conversation stays between the two of us. But if I tell my friend, look at what a beautiful flower I found today, and that moment gets expanded, and all of a sudden the whole world is my audience, and someone from 300 kilometers away says, no, I don't like that flower, it's really ugly. It creates a completely different dimension about the way we communicate with each other. A dimension where the person that is screaming from far away, which is what I did in the previous story when I made a comment online on someone else's Instagram, you don't have enough information. It's too far. It's too far for anyone to make a judgment online over another person. We don't know who that person is. We can imagine the motivation. Sometimes they might be clear, but it's really far for making any assessment on the situation. And vice versa, the person showing the flower, well, might be unaware of the fact that that showing translates completely different to a different culture, a different audience, a different context. So it's clear how online and in person have different flavors of communication. But for this exercise, I was trying to distill what is the essential motivations behind any form of human communication. And then I took it on me, yeah? So when I do this channel, these audios, when I do a post on Instagram or Facebook, or beyond socials, even when I am in person with someone and I have a conversation, what are my motivations? What is the ultimate intention that from within is motivating this exchange of words, images, music, whatever it is? And I found that I can break them in two categories. I think there are let's start for one, the ego-based motivations. Let's say my agenda, our agenda. What do we secretly want with every communication from an ego-centered perspective? Let's get it out of the way. The obvious. To be liked. To be told by the world, good boy, Igor, you did good. To have recognition, to have, even if it is a secondary version, but still a version of love, of being appreciated. In some cases that would take the shape of admiration, or the shape of gratitude. You do something nice for someone, and that's in itself a reward, but it's nice. You feel happy that the person says thank you. And it's important, I think, that we all acknowledge first to ourselves and then to the people around us that being liked, it's part of why we do the things we do. Yeah. So I would say the first is an emotional motivation to be liked as an entrance towards being loved. A secondary motivation for the ego structure, for the personality structure, is safety or survival. So when I do this, obviously part of it is because financially I need to make a living, because this is part of how I can reach to people, and then they know that I exist, and then maybe they come to a class or a retreat, or they book me for shiatsu. So there is a motivation that is about sustaining the existence of the entity that is speaking. And we all feel this in one way or another. Maybe it is more clear for those people who are self-employed and are directly dependent on social media to reach, to be known, to make our message travel. But if you link it with the first point that I made, coming from tribes, being a mammal that is dependent on group living in order to survive, being a mammal whose babies are unable to survive for the first several years of our existence. If we were not accepted, if we were not liked, if we were not appreciated by the group or the tribe, imagine your chances of survival decrease immediately. So safety, needing to belong to the group in order to feel that our existence is not threatened, it plays a very big role in the way we express ourselves. And this is for both genders, but in the case of women, even more, because as a woman, if you didn't have a protective social structure around you, with all the mayhem and pain that men have been causing women through history, you were very vulnerable, very fragile, very exposed to any man coming around and raping you or hitting you or using you or kidnapping you. So it is built in the language that when we relate with each other, belonging, being accepted, being liked, being part of the group is one of the harmonics, is one of the colors of our communication. And then maybe there is a third. Maybe this is more for men, but I think it's for everybody. To be right, some sort of morals, some sort of... It, of course, expands from the previous two. It's not isolated, but it, the idea that there is objectively something that is right versus something that is wrong. And that creates religions, and that creates administration, and that creates police, and that creates prisons, and that creates the rules in the family. And part of our communication in all different versions of it carries my desire to be right instead of being wrong, and my interpretation that there is a certain right and wrong, and that of course, me, not the rest, but me, I'm always on the right side. Even the biggest villain thinks he's right. So I think these three, you encircle them together, and these are the motivations for our egos when we speak, when we write, when we communicate, when we make a song, when we make a painting, when we do anything that is directed to cause a reaction, to cause an impression, to cause a shared moment in another human being. How much of this we carry through life? It's important, yeah? A life well lived, a life where you're present and attentive, shows you that holding on to your patterns, to your habits, to your ideas, to your me, it's futile. You don't need to be a spiritual person and practice meditation or read Buddhist books to understand that holding on to spring, well, you're gonna suffer if that's the only thing you like, because summer is bound to come, and then autumn, and then winter. So it is only natural, it is only natural consequence of living awake that your attachment to you, small you, little Igor, and his problems and his issues, it gets eroded as you age. It's really just only natural. So if you have a 3-year-old telling you, hey, my car, look at this toy car, it's the most beautiful car, it's more beautiful than yours. Well, you will tell this 3-year-old, yes, of course, Jimmy, your car is the most beautiful car. Oh, how beautiful it is. But if you have a 57-year-old dude coming and telling you, oh, look at my car with his new Bugatti, it's the most beautiful car in the world, you will go, come on, dude, grow up, take a chill pill, yeah? And it doesn't matter if you agree or disagree, when someone comes, I'm the best president, my business is the best business, my brand is the best brand. I think the dissonance is not even that it isn't true. It might be true there is a fantastic brand, president, or car, but the added aggrandization, the lack of process, the lack of understanding of how life truly is that exists behind those ways of communication where either something is amazing or amazingly disgusting. Either I am way better or way worse. This is what we usually consider an aggranded, enlarged ego, yeah? And yeah, we have all been next to people like that, or maybe all of us have been like that. Usually when you're younger, there is more component of this. I certainly have been, and I have my moments. And it's not pretty. It doesn't feel good. I don't even know if that is more or less authentic, but it's certainly less in tune with the way nature is, the way life is. And then, second, the acknowledgement of it. And I think that is something that is often missing. Let's go to online, and if I put a post, and in my post or in my picture, in my video, or if I promote my business in whichever way, and I kind of give the illusion to people that all that I just said, it doesn't exist, that I'm free from it, that I'm not advertising myself, that I have no financial motivation, that it doesn't exist in me the please look at me and admire me, that I'm not motivated by a desire for safety, I am misleading you. Because even if I am with a lot of effort, work, and presence, slowly transcending these traits of personality, there's no way I'm free from them. They are active. Of course they are active. Hopefully to a lesser degree as I age, but it is misleading for me to pretend that I am ego-free. It is misleading when we see sometimes, the holiest of holies who are pretending to be beyond good and evil, while they aren't. And one would say that we had so many of these false idols and funky gurus in the 60s and 70s that we should have learned. But you can do a lot by using the right words and saying them in the right order, and pretending that you are authentic. It's almost like you take the wheel and you turn it one more time, and before it was very clear, and now we have gotten a little more sophisticated in our understanding. So now there is a layer of pretend on top of a layer of pretend that is on top of a layer of pretend, with the intention that the three layers together make me look authentic. But that is 3 layers less authentic. So I think this first part is probably where we all fall. I know I fall often. Through life, moving and transcending the attachment to me, and understand that we are a collective, that the planet is a collective, and that our gain is collective or it isn't, and our pain is collective, is the only way. And then within this attempt to transcend and live more according to the natural laws, also acknowledge my limitations in doing so. And stop pretending that we are better than we are, and stop pretending that we are worse than we are. Because sometimes it's in that direction, yeah? Sometimes I get attached to a victim story of myself, and then that becomes my cushioning between me and the world. Instead of my incredible car or my incredible business, is my incredible pain and my trauma and my illness and my insecurity. And then once again, I am neither transcending nor acknowledging the prison that I am living in. But let's say we get this out of the way. What do we want when we are communicating? What goes beyond the suiting my needs and defending myself from the environment and all that stuff, yeah? And I think it's simply to connect. I have an experience, an idea, I feel something, a pain, a sadness, a joy, but it's inside of me, it's trapped. And that makes me feel isolated. Not even Igor, but even the soul would feel isolated in that sense. And then you seek to join with another in the sharing of that experience, in an attempt to relive together, so the two of you now have access to that information. There is a scientist, quantum physicist, what's his name? Federico Fagin, a nice Italian guy. He is the inventor of the microprocessor. And then he's also a meditator, and he has had a few experiences. And lately I think he has written a book, so he's been in some podcast. And he has a beautiful way to explain it. He says that we are quantum fields, but that when we get to one another, we need to shift into Newtonian physics to be able to communicate, to be able to share with each other the experiences that we are living in, because within my quantum field is just for me. So I think that's the true purpose of communication, that I take what I'm feeling, I take my experience, you take your experience, and somehow we create a bridge through words, through music, through painting, through actions, through a gesture, through sometimes completely in silence, just a little nod or a bit of body language, through dance, through shiatsu, through cooking. There's so many ways to express, and then we share that moment. We feel not isolated in that moment. And then through the accumulation of experiences, when we die, we take them back to Source, and we tell Source, okay, this was what I saw. And Source is like, cool. Okay, now change clothes, get a shower, and off you go again, so you bring me more stories. And this must be the ultimate purpose of existence. You have this absolute unity, which sounds like a beautiful state to be, but imagine how solitary, how lonely. So this beautiful trick that consciousness, existence, life has designed, it cuts itself into parts to have the illusion of having company. And then we share that with one another, bring it back, turn that again and again and again. And in that moment, when you are having this experience of true communication, through the gift that you have, the guitar player practices guitar in his bedroom. And then he takes that gift, brings it into a concert, and then communicates. In that moment, you have this flow state, this forgetfulness of the self, the small self, that allows you to be egoless in the expression, and therefore your agenda in that moment means nothing. You are not hiding behind any ulterior purpose. You really are thriving and enjoying the moment of sharing, the moment of connection with another human being. So, in my case, if I look for the true motivation behind this channel, and whenever I post things, or my classes, or my shiatsu, is that I love communication. I truly, truly love the moment where someone feels, thinks, dreams of something. This something is inside of them, isolated. They bring it up, and somehow through a skillful exchange of whichever is the language form that we choose, another human, another dog, another country, an audience, or a private person gets it. And then take that and make it not just for simple things, but even complex things, complex feelings that we use language, but language has a defined, a limited amount of words for expressing colors and smells and feelings. So when the experience is complex, you are going to have to figure it out. And not everybody is good with words, and not everybody is good with music, and not everybody is good with touch, and not everybody is good dancing, and not everybody is good building houses. But you find your own way through creativity and with the intention of meeting, to both explain and on the other hand to listen, to take it in. And I find that fascinating. And through my channel, what is happening now to me is that I'm going through some sort of episode of creative Tourette's. I think my whole life I had this yeah, ideas and images and ways to explain things. This is why I became a yoga teacher. Um, I love communication, yeah, but I don't think it's that I have become better lately or that somehow I have more ideas. Maybe a little, because I sometimes have them even through the night, yeah. So maybe a little more, but mainly is that the other part is less. It really is less, and I feel a little freer. Like the other day when I put this about breath video, I looked at it and I was like, Igor, could you not finish this sentence better, or stop closing your eyes in this way, or you don't look good, or you're, I don't know, different self points of self criticism. But overall, I don't care. I mean, I still have my own standards of quality, but I found myself looking at myself when I was editing last Sunday, um, much more forgiveness for myself. And not because I love myself, but because it's less important. I don't know how important it is that I don't have a double chin, or that my hands move too much, or that the perfect sentence was not delivered because I sneeze, or whatever it is, yeah? It's not that important, because there are other things that are more important at the moment, and I really feel that really using life for what life is for, which is communion, reaching, meeting, feeling each other, and understanding that we are so similar, that we need each other, that we're growing together. Oh, that's so much more important than me worrying about if I look or good or not. There is an desire for excellence in my actions, and everyone who loves their craft, there is a desire for excellence, and you do that to the extent of your ability. You do your drawings beautiful, and you do your music beautiful, and you do your house beautiful. But beyond that, you tried. You did the best you could. If it's not perfect, next time we try better. It's not such a big deal. Because after all, we are loved all the same by God. The sun shines on everyone the same. After all, right or wrong are figures of speech, because they're only perspectives and they're not absolutes. And safety, well, you can look at it both ways. The most obvious one, you're never safe. We are never safe. Really, never. We don't know what's happening around the corner. If you want to be more benevolent, and if you want to look at the bigger perspective of life and not at the one that is wearing your clothes today, then we're always safe, because we're all one and life is eternal. But once you understand things in these terms, then you free yourself to use your ego structure with all the qualities, all the things that we have learned that have shaped me into me, that is different from anyone else. I cannot be anyone else but myself. And then instead of fighting against me, I use me. And what do I use me for? To meet, to have a moment of connection with a tree, with a dog, with another human being, with life itself. And then everybody will do it different. And Nina will do jewels, and Toby will make houses, and Naomi will make songs, and Katerina will give reflexology, and Jenny will dance, and Artur will play football, and we all express ourselves in different ways. And that goes beyond our professions. In every moment, in every day, you are communicating. In every moment, in every day, just speaking with life through the unified field. And when we free ourselves to do that fully, when this free flow state does not happen only in peak moments when we are surfing the big wave, but you allow a softer version of it to become the day-to-day fluid that carries your existence, there is so much less friction to life. There is so much less friction to relationships. And there is pain, eh? That is always there. Life is painful. But there is no added struggle on top of the pain, no unnecessary suffering beyond the already built-in pain that life carries. And then joy also has a great opportunity to shine and to be part of our existence, both in sunny days and also in rainy days. And hopefully as we approach older age and we get ready to take the step, we never know if this is going to happen yet, but when you're getting ready for the next step, joy will be there. Together with the pain, together with the illness, together with maybe the deterioration of the body, together maybe with the solitude. But because we have learned to let go of ourselves in order to be in communication with life, when death comes, since it's part of life, we will communicate with it. Yeah. Now, let me think of a title for this audio, and then a practice for later. But yeah, this summarizes, if nothing else, the thoughts that have been on my mind for the last few days or so. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me feedback in private. You never know. I'm talking to myself here alone in my living room, but it's nice every once in a while when someone sends me a text and, this made me reflect, or that made me think, or it's beautiful. It closes the loop of communication by sending it back to me. So thank you very much for those who have done that. Okay, friends, have a beautiful day, afternoon, or night. I send you my love.